Welcome. We are going to talk some rugby today. We'll take a sizable detour, to be honest, to 2016. That's because this Saturday in Chicago, it is Ireland-New Zealand once again, Soldier Field. No introduction needed. It's going to be live on Virgin Media Television. Kick-off Irish time is 8:10, 3 local time. And it sets up beautifully, really, for a host of reasons. Much like the Autumn Nation series, in fact, because a week later, Japan and Dublin. Week after that, Australia. And then a week after that, the world champion South Africa. So it's about as good a November as we've had in a long time. Not to mention Andy Farrell back at the helm. And I suppose general sense that World Cup focus and preparations step up several notches from here on in. As ever, our rugby coverage is with thanks to Energia. They sponsor rugby in Ireland at all levels. Grassroots with the Energia AIL, and as official energy partner to Leinster, Connacht, the Irish men's and women's teams. And their Rugby for All initiative welcomes everyone of all abilities to participate in the game. If you want to learn more about Energia's exclusive home energy offer for rugby fans, you can visit energia.ie/rugby. I mentioned 2016, sizable detour. We have a special guest in studio once again. Rob Kearney, thank you for coming in again. You're very welcome.
Great to be back, Joe.
Yeah. Eve of the Lions the last time, wasn't it?
Eve off the lines, yeah, it was.
Yeah. You pull that mic down.
Not sure what our prediction was, but I presume we were bang on, were we? 2-1 Lions?
I presume so. So I thought of you with 2016 in mind. Ireland 40, New Zealand 29. You need a big one today, Rob. That's one of the more famous lines from that game.
Yeah, it is. I still remember it so clearly. And I actually remember an awful lot about the whole lead up of the week for a host of reasons. I suppose when you look back on big weeks like that in your own career, and of course as a team when you create history too, but you often look within your own lens and look at it a bit more selfishly, because it affects you first and foremost.
You're a selfish person.
And that too.
Yeah.
But it was a really difficult few weeks for me. I think we toured South Africa the summer beforehand, and I missed out on that tour with injury. My body it was the one time when I was really breaking down fully from start to finish. Calves, hamstrings, hips, everything were going, and I spent an awful lot of time in Santry Sports Clinic that summer with Enda King. Just went fully back to basics, tried to sort of rebuild my whole body, fundamentally from start to finish, and did a lot of work out there. And then I was delighted to get back into pre-season with Leinster. I was in really good shape. And then we went away to Glasgow and I picked up a PCL knee injury over there. And I was out for another 5 or 6 weeks after that. So, and then you start thinking again, body's breaking down, everything's going wrong.
You were only 30 then?
Yeah, which is... What's 30 now? It's
young.
It's youngish, and I think a lot of times in this country, once you hit 30, it's like, right, he's past the set by date, let's move on. But I think we're seeing more and more now when 30 it's not young, but it's middle of the road.
And wait, when you are sorting out your body, because obviously I know there was a back injury, which you picked up in the gym, whatever way you were lifting weights that time, and that was kind of a root cause of some issues. When you're trying to sort all that out in Santry, does that extend to, I need to even change how I run? I need to, is it like proper?
It's proper
basics?
Delve really deep. And I must say, Enda King, who's no longer in Santry Sports Clinic, but he was incredible for me.
Did you have to learn how to move differently?
I'd changed my whole running mechanics, yeah.
So give us a basic version of that.
I did,
because you always had a funny run, we thought.
like a duck.
No.
I remember one drill that I would have ran for a few 100 meters every single day, and it was with a 25 kilo barbell on my back and 50-meter sprints as quick as I could go. Now the 25 kilo is going to obviously slow you down significantly, but you have to drive so much force through your feet going down as opposed to in any way out a little bit. So the force contact is directly on the ground. and you work on a lot of strength to get stronger in specific areas, hip control, which then allows you to do all of that a little bit better. So it starts fundamentally with strength and getting stronger in certain areas of your body, and then you change your mechanics over time, and you can change them because you're a little bit stronger.
Right.
But it did enormous work with him, felt brilliant, first came back, got a knee injury.
Yeah.
So then you sort of back into this awful place. And, I wasn't playing well at the time. The season beforehand, Leinster had lost to Connacht in the league. I had a shocker of a day out. I was injured in that game too, but still. And there was people calling for me that they weren't happy with me in that position. And Simon Zebo was playing very well with Munster. Jared Payne was playing really well with Ulster. Tiernan O'Halloran was playing well for Connacht. Issa was playing well for Leinster. Okay. And there was not too many people in my corner. And I remember the Monday of the week to Chicago before we departed, myself, Gary Ringrose and Jared Payne were doing a three-way swap around 13 and 15. And Joe would always have been very clear on a Monday with his team in terms of who was playing where. But it was the first time with him that I thought, something's up here. So then team was picked that night. I was 15, but I was delighted to be picked, but I also wasn't delighted that we were going over to Chicago to play the best team in the world. Was it 13 or 18 games consecutively? 18.
Yeah.
They hadn't let in 5 tries. Was their total amount of tries that they let in the Rugby Championship?
Yeah.
I wasn't playing particularly well. Body was breaking down. People were calling for me. So it's not the sort of trip that you're getting on the plane thinking, wow, I cannot wait to get over here.
This could be a career ender for me.
And it could easily have been. I often look back and think that it potentially was.
Interesting, do you? And just as a final thought on that running mechanics thing, would you then have consciously, like when you're going into training on a Monday, Tuesday, or just plodding around and you have time to think about it, are you thinking I need to drive my feet into the ground more directly?
Yeah, or you would think, but then
but then you can't at a certain point.
No, but it's like anything. It
becomes habit.
The more you practice it, the more.
So did you then run 4 or 5 years later, unconsciously, subconsciously, you're running the way Enda King would have liked?
Yeah, I'm sure I probably regressed back a little bit. But yeah, I had a great physio in Leinster, Carl Denver, who came to all those sessions with me in Santry Sports Clinic. So it was easy to replicate when I went back to Leinster, and he was with me daily working on them too.
Okay. How close to kickoff was it that Schmidt said, we need a big one from you?
3 minutes before the haka.
Right, okay. I wasn't sure, was it around team announcement or...
No, it was. No, I met him the day before. We had the captain's run the day before, and I went up to the team hotel gym just to do a bit of switch on and activation stuff. And he was up there at the same time. It was early enough in the morning, and usually you'd have the morning Joe, how are you? Sleep well? Well, he rammed straight into what he needed me from training. So he was edgy with me, but it wasn't until the next day that he gave me the big line. But he enjoyed, I think I was a player who Joe felt he needed to give a kick up the backside.
Even at Leinster?
Not so much at Leinster. But then once it worked in Chicago, it was just, he felt that he needed to always do
it. How can I put this guy seriously on edge?
I know.
Again. So I presume he says we need a big one from you, and you're like, yeah, sure. Well, I mean, what do you say back to that? Except, yeah, no worries, yeah, sure. But
yeah, sure, of course. But in my head, I'm thinking,
bloody hell,
what sort of animal are you? Like, mentally, I'm not good. Physically, I'm not good. We're playing against the best team in the world, and you're throwing this one at me.
Just put me on notice, actually. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But you don't have long to think about it. So, I went back to my spot and I thought, right, well, you have 2 decisions to make here. You can go into your shell, or you can just absolutely throw the kitchen sink at it. And if you are to go out, well, then go out in a high.
Maybe to his credit, he figured you could take it.
Yeah, maybe he did. And, that's some of the best coaches, well, the very best coaches and managers, they know how to treat each player differently in terms of what will react with them and how to get the best out of them.
It's high risk, though. It's definitely. Um, so, God, that's mad. Yeah, you fly it in that kind of frame of mind. I was out there with work, and my memory of that week is blue skies.
Mm.
It was just gorgeous autumnal blue weather. There was just a nice feeling in the air, and obviously the Cubs had won. So there's I think it was like the eighth largest gathering of human beings in history.
5 million people.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So there was just a kind of atmosphere.
There was an atmosphere. There was a great buzz. There was lots of excitement because we were playing in Chicago, so it was very cool too. Um, I remember our week's preparation was horrific. So we flew on the Monday or Tuesday. We were only on the field twice that week, Tuesday morning, and then the Thursday, and we trained in this. So there's not many grass pitches over there. And normally you do the captain's run on an AstroTurf just because there's not a huge amount of play and you're just, you're going through the motions a little bit. So we found a grass pitch because there was the contact element within the session, and you'd never do any contact really on an AstroTurf. So if you could find a grass pitch, it would be beneficial. We did. It was the worst pitch that I've ever seen, ever trained on. It was filthy. It was mucky. Lads were slipping all over the place, and the quality of our session was genuinely a 2 or 3 out of 10.
Right.
To the point that I remember the meeting the following morning, which is your captain's run meeting. And normally, if Joe was ever to come at us as a team, it would be the Thursday morning. So you'd break on a Tuesday night, you'd have Wednesday off, and then when we come back in on Thursday, he always felt that the vibe was a bit joyful, and we've been off yesterday and everything's great. He would open up on us on a Thursday morning quite regularly, and then he'd build us back up on the Friday. What was unusual about this one was he broke us down on the Friday and properly gave it to us.
Oh.
If you produce this rubbish that I saw yesterday, your heads are off, you're not in the mindset, you will get 50 points put on you by the All Blacks tomorrow if you're not at the level. So I do remember there was a huge amount of nervousness. Now there always is when you play the All Blacks. Well, sorry, certainly there was when I was playing them in those, because we'd never beaten them before, and you know that you could get 60 points put on you in a given day, 60 points to nil.
It can go badly wrong.
Has happened.
Yeah.
So there was that element of, we are off the pace here. We've not played a huge amount of rugby together. They're coming off the back of a rugby championship. So there is a few synergies between what's happening now, a team who looks very undercooked, and, they are undercooked, and you'd expect them to be, coming up against a really battle-hardened test match team.
Because I spoke to one player who said of all his time with Ireland, maybe aside from that Friday, who knows, but he had never found a Joe Schmidt camp to be so relaxed and fun, and he found Joe to be as relaxed as he'd ever been, and the shackles were off a little bit. That doesn't fully tally with your memory.
The shackles were certainly off from our game plan. So in his head, Joe was like, we are throwing everything at them. We are going to attack. And we, as a team, and I'm sure as coaches too, we learned an awful lot from that 2013 game when we went 19-0 up.
22-7 as well at halftime.
22-7. So, that was an enormous capitulation from an Irish rugby team.
I just double checked the score because I figured 13 had come up. I'd forgotten you didn't score in the second half.
No.
Finished 24-22 from 22-7.
Yeah.
Mad thought. And you'd hope it would never happen nowadays, and the team has come on. But we learned so much from that game. And there was the end of that game before Ryan Crotty's try. The All Blacks went 3.5 minutes. And from 2013 to 2016, we would regularly finish off training with a 3.5 minute drill. We were defending constantly for 3.5 minutes, or sometimes you'd be attacking for 3.5 minutes. So it was a real sort of mental resilience piece with us.
But what we learned most from that game in 2013, highlighted by the point that we didn't score in the second half, we knew that we had to keep going after them. We had to keep attacking. So we started the game with this unbelievable attacking mindset. We're going to throw at them from everywhere. When we came in at half time and the score was what it was, the message was still the same. We have to keep going after them. As soon as you sit on your feet against the All Blacks, they will rip you apart. And we had learnt that lesson the hard way.
I just read a quote of Rory Best talking on BBC there today, just as on the website today. He reckons that match was the start of Ireland kicking to the corner a lot more. That even that was it was attack at all points. Again, people have different memories of things. That was his memory, that we started kicking to the corner a lot more from that day.
Yeah, we scored we scored 2 tries in the second half, Zeebs and Robbie, and I remember at half time, coach is saying we need at least one more try, at least one more try. But yeah, I don't think it's fully in Ireland's DNA now to go for the corner. Sorry, it probably is. Definitely when Johnny was there, it was stark. I suspect now they might move back away from it a little.
Take the points a bit more.
Bit.
They've definitely been criticised at times for not taking points a bit. Murray in his book remembers Joe Schmidt telling him not to celebrate. And then when the Henshaw scored the try, they were like, "Oh, sod this, we're celebrating." But he remembers thinking, he said it in his book, this is going to come up in the Monday review that I'm celebrating this try.
Yeah, well, that sort of Monday review didn't matter too much because Joe didn't like showboating.
Yeah.
He didn't like celebrating. He loved a poker face. You put the ball down, you go back, all about machine-like process, and you go again. Sometimes it's hard not to celebrate too. But there was huge celebrations when Robbie got his try.
Well, that felt like it.
Yeah, and I remember we were going back to the halfway line and shouting at Murray, "Stay fucking switched on, stay switched on." And he looked up at the scoreboard and he goes, "They can't win." And it was just
he didn't put that in his book.
Did he not? I'm sure he might forget that one, but it was one of those. I just remember it so clearly as it was, I don't know, 90 seconds or 2 minutes left.
Yeah.
And you can just look around and just take it all in. Because you don't get those moments too often in sport where the match is still happening and you can afford yourself the luxury of taking it in.
Yeah. Amazing. Yeah. So you that thing about Joe being more relaxed. So in terms of game plan and attacking him, yes. But you don't remember the week being like way more fun than usual, and we're going here and there, and we're having pizza and deep dishes, and that was kind of what I heard from.
No, and again, you know, back to my first point is where in my headspace, I was not in a good place.
You had a very different week to the people I talked to.
So the night before the game, I text Enda McNulty, who's our sports psychologist, and I would never have spoken to him the night before a game. If I ever sat down with him, it might be twice a year, the first week of November or the first week of Six Nations, when you're not in a match week. So for me to meet him the night before a game, something's up. And I had a really good chat with him, and I was sort of, you know, and it's just not happening for me. Something's going wrong. I'm just waiting for a little spark. And he was like, basically, what are you waiting for? Just make the spark yourself. No one else is going to make it for you. And sometimes you need something so simplistic from a psychologist, or someone who's just there to listen and give a bit of feedback. And that's what it was. And now, 4 or 5 minutes into the game, I'm left one-on-one with, I'm not sure who it was. It might have been Julian Sevilla. But it's like 30 metres between me and him. I'm not sure, I might have got one finger on his foot, but that was about it. And then they go and score a try, and then you just start thinking, here we go again.
This is not a big one, Rob.
Another day in the office.
Yeah.
And then, maybe a few minutes later, we were attacking on their 10-metre line. Zeebs ran a really good line out the back of me, and Johnny looked at Zeebs at the back but threw me a front door pass, and I hit a good line. Clean break, stepped Aaron Cruden, and then moved away from Kieran Reid and just got held up 6 inches before the line. CJ carried the next one and we scored. And running back to the halfway line, I said, thanks to Johnny. I said, thanks a million, man. And he looked at me, he was like, what? But in my head, I was like, okay, that's the spark. That's what I was waiting for. If you didn't give me the pass, I might have been chasing somewhere else, which was such an unusual thing to say to a teammate. Thanks for that pass.
Like a charity case here.
Yeah.
God, you were a bit short, weren't you?
Oh, big time.
Thanks for the pass, Johnny. I can just imagine him thinking,
what the hell?
Wow.
And then we'd a restart after that, took a nice high ball over Ben Smith. And
I remember that.
Then you're up and running.
I remember the high ball over Smith. And that was obviously one of your big things, aerial domination.
Yeah, but it was off a restart. Off a restart too, so
bonus points.
Bonus points.
Yeah. So those two moments are an injection of confidence, I would think.
Yeah, and then you're up and gunning, and it's like you were never in a space where you mentally doubted yourself, or you were never in a space where your body was breaking down. Everything is perfect. It's bizarre.
So fickle.
Yeah.
Wow. Did you ever explain to Johnny the context after?
No.
No.
I'm sure he knew.
God, sliding doors moment. Because you play for another 8 years. Sorry, 2016. I'm doing my maths wrong. 2010. Another 2-3 years. But it's the World Cup, and it's 18. It's 19. Yeah. I haven't been to many New Zealand games, and I was there at work, and I was behind the goal, the kind of the Hill 16 type stand. I don't know the official name of the stand, but I was down quite low, and I remember it might have been for that opening try, but they'd 1 or 2 breaks early on. I remember just the speed. They're like gazelles. No other team runs like they run. There's something about the way they just come is just frightening. I remember having a really deep appreciation for the athletes that they have.
And it's a feeling that never gets old. Every time you play against them, that first 5-10 minutes, you're like, oh my God, this is just different. But we did unbelievably well to get back into the game. But there was. I'm not going to say there wasn't belief, because there was good belief in the week, and I think sort of the fact that we were buoyed with this game plan of all-out attack, which was unusual for us as a team. We were still in the box kick 3-4 phases, win possession back, let's get a set piece, and we'll use one of our many great set piece moves to cut them open, and then we'll go from there. So there was good confidence in the week. Mood was good. We had enjoyed our time over there, so we were outdoors an awful lot. It was autumnal blue skies, as you say. The Cubs winning, so we were a part of those celebrations, but we went up to the top of our team hotel, which was 40 or 50 stories high. So we actually had a great look down there, but no one was out and about.
Trump Tower.
Yeah.
2016, yeah.
And we could see through social media that all the Kiwis were out and about. They were buying the merch. They were walking around the streets. So there was a little bit of a feeling that, okay, they could be in holiday mode here, and we'll catch them on the hop. Did
any part of you have that at the back of your mind even after the win?
It was I remember it was Aaron Smith's Instagram account, and they were all out and about. And I remember looking at it thinking, okay, it's a little win for us.
Yeah, because it's a terribly unfair thing to say about the team of 16, but personally, I didn't know how to. Not an exhibition match, but just that we caught them cold. You caught them cold. I didn't have anything to do with it. You caught them cold. They came back to Dublin a couple of weeks later, and Robbie Hedenshaw's still reverberating somewhere deep inside. They just put a little back in your box moment. 2018 at home felt very important. Not that 16 doesn't count. It counts in every way imaginable. But I just had that nagging sense of...
No, and I would have been the same as a player, and we would have been the same as a team.
Right.
And as coaches, that would always have been the message too. Prove us not a one-off. And, that year it was 1v2 in the world. And it was billed as 1v2, so it was an awful lot more on it than just a November Test International. This was, let's find out who's really the best team in the world this year.
Yeah.
So it did carry an awful lot of weight, but then your whole psychology as a team and as Rugby Nation changes going into that game because we've beaten them before.
No,
Whereas
it's true.
every time, even before 2013, I think I played against them 8 or 9 times. And you do press on a Tuesday or any day of the week, and the party line is always, on our day, if we play our very best, we can beat them. But we need them to have not their best day, and but then it's all out the window now, and it's even more out the window. Beaten them 5 times of the last 10 times we've played them.
Yeah, it's
so
5 each.
The ledger is well balanced.
Yeah, it's incredible. I never thought it'd be 5 each, ever. Admittedly, they'll say, well, we have the quarterfinals, so, steady on. But 5 each is 5 each. And tell me, was there like, because you listen to the Munster players and they, as you said at the top of the conversation, everyone remembers it through their own prism. You had your own stuff going, you had quite a lot going on, it turns out. They had Anthony Foley just weeks earlier going on. Like, in my mind, it was further away to Anthony Foley's passing than actually it was in actuality. It was just a handful of weeks, really. So for them, the number 8 is kind of a huge part of it. Do you remember them being especially emotional, or your memories of how all that came about?
Not really. We had spent a bit of time with them beforehand. The guys were all in camp the week before. I wasn't in the camp the week before because I was black with Leinster. I think it was playing Connacht the week before I came off the bench for 20 minutes. So they would have had an awful lot more time to spend with them in the week before that. And a lot of us did go down to Anthony's funeral and spent a bit of time with them there. But they were still a little bit rattled. And the figure of 8 only came around the evening before. I just remember we went down to one of the big ballrooms in the hotel and practiced the figure of 8, so everyone knew exactly where to stand, what to do.
It's not something you want to make a mess of.
No. I'm sure there's a couple of people who did make a mess of it, but that was poignant.
It's funny, like we'll come back to it in a sec, but like sports psychologists and everything would say, God, there's between you getting the crisis talk with Enda McNulty and then Joe Schmidt 3 minutes before Haka, and then the emotion of practicing the number 8 and just thinking of it the night before. I mean, you could say, God, that's probably not best practice in some ways, but maybe it was just in keeping with the unusual nature of the week. It was all a bit heightened.
Yeah, but I'd say you'd be surprised that in any given test week where it's a big game, there's always little subplots here and there. But now another thing, the night before when we were doing the figure of 8, it was very emotionless.
Right.
It was sort of.
Sorry, I was imagining more of a
pinpoint. Right. We're doing this tomorrow. There was no real rally cry or anything like that. I think we learnt our lesson from 2015 quarter-final. Paulie speaking to us the night before the Argentina game.
Yeah.
Guys were ready to run through walls and trying to sleep that night, wake up the next day, early kick-off, and just deflated.
Yeah. Did you remember much about the celebrations then? Because it's quite early in the day when that finishes. You've got the night is young.
The night is young, Dwyer. Just remember the sheer relief was. Again, selfishly, you're so relieved, but then what a buzz in the changing room. It was just pure ecstasy. And winning big games is one thing, but creating history is really, really special.
Yeah.
And then I remember our head of comms, David Oshikon, coming over to me, and when he was walking over to me, I could think, I know what you're doing here. He said, come out, speak to the media. I said, David, you can go out and tell each and every one of them to.
I knew you were feeling that way. I tell you how. You won't remember this. This is one of these things where, in your position, you probably get ambushed with a million stories. You're like, I've no memory of that because, me and Keane Murta, who used to work for Off the Ball, we, on the morning after the game, were doing like an open top, tour of the city kind of thing. And we came across Trump, the hotel. I didn't actually know you were staying there. But Trump was, he was man of the moment then. So I wanted to go and have a look just to see. I'd presumed maybe he'll have a statue of himself in the lobby. Who knows with this guy. And then walked in and I suddenly, oh God, because all the team were milling around the lobby. And then we saw Brian O'Driscoll, who was there, and he worked obviously with Off the Ball. So we sort of got talking to him. And you came over to say something to him. It was like Brian, me, Keane, you came over to talk to him. And it was like, I'm not breaking the fourth wall here of acknowledging the two journalists. Like, you know, but I'd interviewed like you a year before. So I was ready to go, oh, well done kind of a thing. And you'd said, I'll see you. You were just making some arrangements with him, see you later or something. And you turned and went. And I thought,
oh, cold.
I thought that is fucking cold.
And look at us now. Look at us now.
But I didn't, because I'd interviewed you the year before. And I remember in that interview, even off mic, you had sort of said, oh, I bet there's lots of people saying, get Kearney out, are there, when they text in the show? You're curious. It was like all of that was going on, I reckoned. But we weren't friends, but I knew you. And you came over. It was like just shut her down, say what you say, Brian, and go. And I do remember thinking, oh my God, he's pissed off at the media.
Oh,
No, I didn't. I really didn't. I thought he is peeved at the media. He's a very aware, because like I said, the year before, picked up that you were the antennae, sensitive to what was being said about you.
Sometimes you're looking for reasons to want to have a chip on your shoulder as well.
Yeah.
But no, I went out and I did media after Steve Hansen came into the changing room, and to be fair to him, was very magnanimous. Because you often hear of the All Blacks and they're so humble, but sometimes when they lose, they're not so humble.
Fake humble,
they
I
don't
think,
take it well. Fake humble
is the word.
And then went into the Kiwi changing room, and it was like a morgue in there. Saw Ben Smith at the corner of my eye. We swapped jerseys and got the hell out of there.
It's tough for them in a way. Like, they're playing Scotland. I was watching New Zealand TV last night on YouTube, and like, so Scotland have never beaten them. And Scotland have quite a light November, and that one is just circled. Meanwhile, New Zealand are like Chicago and here, there, everywhere, and they don't want to be the team that lose to Scotland for the first time, or that morgue of a dressing room was like, oh God, we're the ones. We're the ones. Yeah, it's a tough thing for them to carry.
Yeah, it is, but it's the same thing the best teams always carry around.
Yeah.
It's just comes with the responsibility of being number one.
Yeah.
Even though they're not number one, but the brand.
Yeah. So in short, you don't remember some mad night out? You were just...
No, I didn't. My mum and dad came over. We went back to the team hotel. A load of guys went out on the pints that night. I had 2 bottles of beer, and I just remember being physically and emotionally shattered.
Yeah, I'll bet.
I went straight to bed, hung out with them for an hour or two in the team hotel, and went to bed.
Yeah.
But then there's no better feeling when you wake up the next day.
Oh, I'd say.
You're sore, you're beaten to bits. It wasn't a dream.
I'm not finished in this town. Yeah, I'd say that's amazing. Yeah. And did Joe ever give you, because there's a good photo of you two shaking hands actually, but did he ever come up to you after that game the next day, do you remember, and go, well done, that was great?
No, he was good for that, to be fair. He was, if you played well. Joe would always, if you did go well, great game, well done. But there was this one time you should have done this, and it's just, it's never a 100% compliment. There's something backhanded in there too.
Yeah, it was amazing. And I got, the other thing, like the photos of the likes of O'Connell and O'Driscoll in the crowd and all the former players and the lap of honour and all that kind of stuff, that lingers in the memory too. Must have been weird for them. They're delighted for you guys, obviously, but I'm sure they were thinking, God.
And of course, and they should have been. It was right for them. I did an interview with the American broadcasters after, and they was talking about what an unbelievable day it was. And I actually said, it's yes, it's for us, but it's for every Irish team and every player who's gone against the All Blacks before too.
Yeah.
But no, it would have been tough viewing for them.
Yeah, strange. Joey Carby played 21 minutes. Can easily forget.
21 minutes. It was his 21st birthday that week.
Yeah.
It was his first time in America ever. And he did really well when he came on. Yeah. Really well. And I suppose you could have, sometimes it's nice having that element of youth coming off the bench where, they weren't there in 2013 or they weren't involved in a 60-0 defeat. They don't have the baggage of the past. They can just come on and play.
Yeah. I'd say, I don't know. It's funny how it turned out for him. I'd say then, on that evening, everyone's saying, this guy, whoa, you know, it's amazing. 2025, there's a kind of, I don't know, a feeling in the air about this team at the moment. That the high point of 22, 23 was super high. And since then, it's been a slow
Decline.
Yeah, albeit like not a chronic decline, just
No, it's not chronic, but I think there is, you know, you have to be honest, there is a decline. Now, you'd probably expect a little bit of a decline.
Natural come down.
Natural decline. You know, that team of 22, 23 was the greatest Irish team of all time.
Yeah.
You know, the quality of rugby that was played on that summer tour to New Zealand and then the Six Nations after that was off the charts good. You know, far better than the 2009 team or the 2018 team. That is, in my view, the best Irish team of all time.
Comfortably.
Yeah, so they peaked really, really well for the World Cup. I don't know if the Jaggers will be out for that, but, you know, if you step back, they played amazing rugby at that period when they were meant to be building. Okay, quarterfinal, everything that goes with that didn't work out. And then, you know, you lose a couple of key players, guys get a little bit older. So we're in a period now where it's a natural point in time post Lions tour where, okay, now we're starting to really build for the next World Cup.
Yeah, it does feel like that, I have to say.
And it has to.
Yeah.
It has to.
So to jog memories, November last year, undercooked again against New Zealand, very bad performance. It's kind of the last time that Jack Crowley started, actually. He paid the price for that. And then, you know, it was only an okay November. And then Farrell steps away lines and it's Easterby in. And I guess it was going okay. But then France come to Dublin, put 42 points on the scoreboard, win by 15. And then the summer is like Georgia, Portugal on the line. So there hasn't been much, but it's been a little bit rocky. And now they pitch up with not much game time. So it's hard to feel like super confident, especially how rusty they were this time last year for the first game against New Zealand.
And we've no right to feel super confident either. And we're coming up against some really good teams who are all performing very well, and off the back of a competitive rugby championship, which does, you know, the more test matches you play in a season, the more battle hardened you are for that arena, the more of an impact it'll have. And the same applies the other side for an Irish team who haven't been together in a long time.
Yeah, it's really interesting. And I saw Scott Robertson saying that Geordie Barrett is a great student of the game. He's like, what did he say? He's given us some good insights, you know. So even that's kind of like, okay.
Yeah, no, even if he's not. Well, he's definitely giving insights, but of course the coach is going to say that too.
Maybe. So say 2 years out from the last World Cup, things really upped and they hit a sweet spot. So you'd have to give Farrell there's credit in the bank here that he timed the peaking to the last World Cup beautifully, you know. So you'd give him credit that he can do it again on this 2-year running. I guess one of the things which has been talked about is just the age profile of the team and how quickly he rips the Band-Aid, i.e. in 2027. Bundy is 37. Robbie Henshaw's 34. Debut as a teenager. Just, you know, a lot of miles. It's a gamble, I suppose. James Lowe's 35. Gibson Park's 35. Van der Fleer's 34. Tyg Burns 35. Jack Conan's 35. Tyg Furlong's 34. These are a lot of, like, big names. And just hitting that point where you could gamble. You could get them through and they could be okay and be really effective for that month at that age. Or Father Time could pull the rug out close to that World Cup and then, God, we haven't got experience into the next crowd behind them. I think he's in a terrible predicament. Like a really difficult one, Andy Farrell. I have a lot of sympathy for him because I could see him looking at Van der Fleer going, amazing player. lives like an unbelievable professional, I would think. 34, he'd be okay. Tyke Byrne, 35. Oh God, Tyke Byrne.
It's hard, isn't it?
It's really hard.
And we've never sort of really seen this with Irish teams before, where you have a big cohort of players whose age profile are all in that same bracket. But I guess what do you do as a coach? You still, week to week, you have to pick your best team of who's performing the best.
And he's always been that way, Farrell. In particular, he doesn't hand out cheap caps. He always goes with win the match today. That tends to be his policy.
And he always sees the very best in his players too.
Nor does he have. I asked him about. Like, I read out those ages to him in an interview a couple of weeks ago, and he really watches what he says. But you could boil it down to him saying, like, I don't have who am I leaving out? Who's the 22-year-old in all those positions that's like coming through? We're a small country, don't have a huge pool of players. It is what it is. He said it is what it is,
Now there'll be a group of 5 or 6 players at the age of 26, 27 who will need accelerated game time over the next. But you see again,
you'll be calling for his head in the Six Nations if yeah. But you know what I mean. If he starts blooding players and there's a bad year, like he sort of said, that can really damage a team too if you start messing around too much. And
no, it could. And I guess what the predicament is, not predicament, but does he blood players in November, or does he get the style of play back to where it was 2 years ago? Because it wasn't there in the Six Nations.
No. And then if you get the style of play back, then feed in.
But then you're 12, 18 months out and you're leaving yourself too close. But there is a need for elements of younger blood.
And do you see the younger blood, like if you watch your average provincial game, have you seen like lots of talent that's ready to come in and wash through the Irish team, or less so?
Yeah, bits and bits. Like I think we'll see some of it. I think we'll see Tommy O'Brien on the wing this weekend. We'll see Jamie Osborne at 15. Who plays 6? There could be a bit of youth there. But there's not. It's not a super long list of players knocking the door down.
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll see what he does. I mean, some of those will age really well and be young 34s, and some will be old 34s. So I guess he'll figure it out, or he has to, one way or another. We'll probably end up talking about this on Saturday, pre-match and post-match on the TV. Number 10. You're a Prendergast guy, I feel.
No, I don't think that's fully fair. I was a Prendergast guy last year. He was playing better than Jack. He was performing well in a Leinster team that was giving him really good go forward ball. Just his general way of getting a backline and a team attacking was very good. Jack wasn't playing as well last year. The Munster team weren't playing as well. He wasn't getting the same quality ball that Sam was. And he didn't get to play a huge amount of minutes for Ireland last year. I think Jack starts this week. He has started very well this season. And, we always would have said about Jack Crowley, he had a very good temperament. When he was playing, if he made a mistake, next moment, focus, next moment. I think he's come back really sharp this season. And there's a look in his eye, a bit between his teeth that last year hurt him. And he's come back now to prove a point. And I don't think the same has impacted Sam. Where he should have been hurt last year about not making a Lions tour. And he probably would have had his defence been a little bit better. And if you know you haven't made, particularly a Lions tour, which is the pinnacle for players, if you know that there's one area of your game that lets you down, on the summer off, you do whatever you have to do to make sure you get that back into the green. And just still lacking a little bit for him. And the fact that Leinster have been, okay, that they had to go away, South Africa back to back, but, you know, particularly in that Munster game, he just wasn't able to get a huge amount going from poor-ish ball.
No way of knowing.
But that's a battle that'll be tit for tat for
so?
a few more years, I do.
I think, yeah. Okay. There's no way of knowing. Prendergast, obviously, in much the same way I wouldn't have known your mindset in 16 Chicago. There's obviously the possibility confidence has just been shaken, and all the scrutiny and all that kind of stuff has just got in there. You know, that's very possible.
And very young, and a kid too,
Yeah.
who's not able to deal with, because, you know, no one's really good at dealing with pressure until they've learned it the hard way.
Yeah.
You know, it's not a skill that you're just born with. More, you know, some of the real outliers just thrive in it and they love pressure. But most athletes, professional sports people, get better with it over time and with experience.
It stings at the start when you're
of course it does.
You know.
And in that position with such scrutiny on it in the country where we love talking about number 10s, and if we've got two that we can put head to head against each other, brilliant.
I know. It's just juicy.
Yeah.
It's true. It's true though. But like, it's also the most important position in Irish rugby, you know.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
So look, we'll talk more on Saturday evening on the TV when we have teams and it's all kind of, it's upon us and we have a better feel for things. Most people making New Zealand pretty strong favourites given the circumstances. Do you suspect there's going to be another famous day, or do you make New Zealand pretty strong favourites?
I make them favourites. I don't make them strong favourites. I think this team now is good enough, particularly defensively good enough, that we won't get beaten out the door.
Right.
By any team in the world for the foreseeable. You know, it would need to be something very, very special to
Rip
win.
Ireland Open, yeah. And you know the way you said there, whether it chooses to blood young players or not, you know, you might say, let's get back to the heights of 22, 23 in terms of the style of rugby that we're playing, ball in hand. I always hear the pros talk about like how rugby, it changes very quickly, like the kind of the points of emphasis in the game. Sometimes it's defences are on top, or then it's a kicking game, or then it's a multi-phase game, or then it's no quick phases, score off 2-3 phases game. Wherever rugby is now, will the style that Ireland played in 22-23, should that translate to where the game is now just as well? Or has the game changed?
No, it hasn't changed significantly greater. I think the Irish team of then would have been very comfortable attacking out of their own half. Teams are playing less in their own half at the moment, and then the new kicking laws make it easier for contestables. They favour the attacking kicking side, so you will be more persuaded to actually go to that aerial game a little bit more.
Right.
You know, and then I think set piece, the binoculars will be out on our set piece, particularly line out, because, you know, historically as a team we've often got so much go forward from our set piece, you know, because of the quality of our running lines and pinpoint accuracy around those first 2-3 phase plays that, you know, prep during the week. Your line-up ball is so important to that.
Feels that's been a bit iffy since the World Cup almost.
It has, yeah.
Which is a long time. Are you worried about Leinster?
Am I worried about Leinster? It's not panic stations. No, it's not panic stations. You know, going away to South Africa for your first two games without such a big contingent of international players was always going to be a tough ask. But they got absolutely beaten out the gate against Munster. You know, so they've work to do. And they will come back from November straight back into big business. So stakes will be high in December. Stakes will be really high. And depending on how Ireland go in November, which conceivably you could say that it's not going to be a very positive one for us, well then, you've got a lot of players coming back who are feeling heat and they haven't won too much rugby this season, and they have a team who is under huge pressure to win a European Cup. And then coming back into a different style of play too. I'm still, not that the jury's out on the DNA of Leinster rugby, but it is very different how they're playing. And it's all down to Jack Nienaber, who the players are obsessed with. They think he is the greatest coach and the greatest person. So it's absolutely nothing against him, but it does take a bit of time to go from one system to the other, and they don't have the luxury of time when they come back in December.
God, it's such an interesting year for them. This November, really difficult, could go in all sorts of ways. Then back to Leinster, heat, and then France away first match of the Six Nations. Imagine that doesn't go well then, if the November is iffy. Or it could go the other way, but obviously, it's all kind of teed up,
high stakes,
isn't it? Yeah, it really is.
And each week that passes that you lose, just the stakes get higher. So we lose this weekend in Chicago, and then you come back, South Africa, Australia.
Yeah, there's a real pressure to win both.
Yeah.
You don't want to go 2-2. That'd feel iffy. That'd continue something's off into France away.
Yeah, so exciting.
Yeah, no, it is. It is. That was so interesting. Thanks a million for coming in.
Always a pleasure.
No. Really appreciate it. Rob Kearney. I'll see you Saturday. Thanks very much.
Good man. Thank you.